Hey everyone, Ray from the Teach Better team. I'm with Tiffany Ott, and we are talking all about Mastery Chat. It was an amazing chat, Tiff. What'd you think?
It was awesome. It was good. It was everything I thought it was going to be. It was a beautiful combination of big ideas and specific ideas, and it was just cool. I think that I missed most of like the chat though, because a couple questions early on just got me like, whoop, going this way. And wait, what happened to the chat? Oh, it's over. Golly. You know what I mean? Like there were some really good conversations. And I know that you do that all the time. You're like questions 2 through 6 because
no, truly, because there was a question that I got stuck on. I kept going back to the same thread, and then I was really behind in the chat, so I was trying to catch up, but that thread just kept going. Yep. So it was a really great chat. I loved all the tidbits. As somebody who doesn't come from like a reading background, I feel like I got a number of different resources that I could go off and now go look into. Probably more this weekend as I'm sitting in bed with my coffee on Saturday morning. Maybe I'll start scrolling through, but that's a chat that for sure I'll be going back to because it was really out of my ballpark in terms of literacy strategy toolbox, but a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, well, and I'm a math teacher, so I've taught science in the past, and I've actually taught a reading class for one semester. I'm not quite sure why they had me do that, but and I've done a little bit of ELA instruction for gifted ed, but like math is really my focus. And so doing this reading chat it was interesting. It was a good experience. I got a lot of really good tidbits from it as well.
That's awesome.
Let's break down a little bit some of what we saw that was exciting and interesting.
I love it.
Did anything specific stand out for you, Ray?
Gosh, Tiff, I sound like a broken record. I'm so sorry. Everybody has their things that they're drawn to, right? Everybody's got their niche in education that they're super passionate about. And then obviously everything else is still cool and awesome. But the niche is really the house. Yeah. I got in such a good conversation about interdisciplinary instruction and I was sold.
You were done. Like, that's it. It's over.
I missed the majority of the chat in a thread talking about the value of interdisciplinary techniques in the classrooms and how we need to start supporting teachers in pursuing this drive of teaching more authentically. Our world is not in isolation. There is so many soft skills and different contents that we should be teaching inside our content-specific classrooms.
Yeah.
We were on a roll.
And it's funny. I saw bits and pieces of that conversation in the chat. So this is actually a time where you saw something in the chat and I saw part of it too, which doesn't always happen.
That does not always happen. Hey, Chad.
And so I saw parts of that. I think you got deeper into it than I did. But at one point somebody was saying, oh, I got really into like the speed dating books conversation. So for those of you, if you haven't heard of that, it's pretty much where you have a bunch of books out and kids have like 3 minutes to look at the cover, look at the back, skim through it, etc. Oh, hi, Chad. Yes, we are going to go see some schools and teachers tomorrow.
I don't get to go see schools and teachers with you two. What's going on?
Why drive 8 hours and you can.
Okay. I'm leaving after this live. I'm driving to Ohio.
Yeah, Chad and I actually, this is totally off the Mastery Chat topic, but I'll talk about it anyway because I like to. We had a 2-day grid method workshop that we did a few months back for a whole county, like the Education Services Center. And so what we're doing tomorrow is we're going and following up with some of the teachers who have then taken the grid and run with it. So we're going to be at 3 different schools tomorrow, bopping all around, and it's going to be lots of fun. I always love seeing teachers doing really cool things, like right there, taking an idea and running with it. And being in
the classrooms are awesome. Like that's just the end of the story. Anytime you can get in a teacher's classroom and reflect and just see the magic is awesome.
It's pretty cool. So speed dating books, right? So I was talking, some people brought up the idea and I was like, I love this idea. It's awesome. And then somebody mentioned something about it also is a really nice opportunity to kind of teach etiquette, right? Like, how do you have a conversation about something? If you're like 3 minutes to talk to somebody about this, How do you start that conversation? How do you discuss it? And so I, of course, said, Ray, you need to get in on this conversation because that is one of the soft skills that you are forever talking about. How do you shake a hand? How do you introduce yourself? How do you make eye contact and help the other person feel welcomed and heard? And those skills are more important than almost anything else that we do as teachers. Like I'd say teaching people to accept and work through failure is, in my mind, number one. And then teaching them how to function with other people is like number two. And then we get to those things through the content that we teach. It's like the tertiary level. And maybe even like up here, even higher than everything else is the kid okay? Right? Like, have they eaten? The classic, can you function? But so that speed dating idea, I love. I think it's really interesting. And actually, oh, sorry, I'm just go. You talk.
Oh no, I love the thread you're talking about. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just thinking the teacher that was talking, I told her I was going to share her all the resources because for the past 6 years or past 5 years, whatever, I've been teaching writing, and we've done a interdisciplinary lesson where we've had a like coffee shop in town sponsor a tea party, and we practiced how to set a table. We talked all about what to wear. We actually made like paper hats for every student, and they actually made them. So the next day they came in, they got all dressed for their tea party. We set these big, long banquet tables in our classrooms, and we had a book tasting, and it was with cookies and tea, and the coffee shop was so helpful in getting all that organized. But these are such impactful ways to not only show our students literacy, but show our students soft skills, show our students community. I mean, how fun. I would love reading if I got to be at a tea party during it. It was such a blast.
Yeah, and I want to take a quick second to go totally off topic, but Kristen Nan is here. She left a quick little comment there, and I just want to tell you guys, she is moderating next week, and she has this super cool idea because she's not actually moderating. She works with like first year education majors, right? Like people who are at the ground level of their college studies to be a teacher. And what she's really working to do is shift some of those really old school traditional mindsets before they really get deeper into education. And so she's laying some phenomenal groundwork. And next week, we are going to have some of those first year education majors create the questions for Mastery Chat, run the Mastery Chat. So we will have many moderators, and they're all going to be like pre-service educators. So I am really excited about that. Kristen, I cannot wait to see how that goes. It's going to be super cool. So,
you know, it's funny, when Kristen had this idea, she sent me a message on Voxer, and she was like, I don't know if this is like not something you're interested in. She's like, it may not be, I don't know. And I'm like, how amazing would it be to be involving our upcoming educators, even our students, more than we're already doing in Twitter chats? I'm like, in what way could that not be awesome? And she's like, right. Okay, good. I'm just glad, because I thought it was awesome.
Well, and she sent me a message too on Voxer, and she said, so I have this idea and Ray thinks it's cool and you'd go for it. I'm like, yeah, I'm going for that. That's great. So I'm excited. It's going to be really, really good. Can't tell you how much I love teachers. Love this. Chills, awesomeness. There's just too much awesomeness. It's phenomenal. So this is the roundabout way of getting back to the whole book talk thing, which I've said like 5 times, but I'm finally going to get to my point now. So the school that I'm at this year is right after Thanksgiving break. The day we come back is actually a teacher in-service day. And we're going to be playing around with doing like essentially a conference style PD where people can like pick and choose and have sessions that meet their needs, which I love that. And I was thinking we need to do a book tasting, a speed dating book tasting at that day so that we can have all of our teachers there, the whole faculty there, kind of see all these great PD books. And so I'm just going to make that happen.
I love that, because there's so many teachers out there that actually only get book recommendations because they're in a bubble. And if you're able to expand the literacy that you are personally reading as an educator outside the norm, there's so many resources out there to fit your fancy. Maybe you like the texts that are more, literary. Maybe you like the texts that are, I don't know. I just think that there's so much out there, and I'm only exposed to like a small percentage of them. So what a great way to expose them to a variety.
Well, and we have a great PD library at my school with lots and lots of books that rarely get touched, rarely get used. So I'm like, yep, we're doing that.
Can we talk about Tal's comment? Tal, you need to host a chat with your student teachers.
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
We would love to have them. They can create the questions very similar to what the setup we're using with Kristen. She'll be our model extraordinaire, and we will do it all set up, because any way that we can continue to amplify the voices of incredible educators, it would be even more outstanding to continue to emphasize the needs of our students by our students actively being a part of Twitter, but also being able to talk about future educational leaders and how they can continue to learn, grow their PLN, and share their incredible insights.
Yeah, like me discovering Twitter 8 years into my career was a moment that was like, oh, now I'm like just getting so much deeper into education than I ever did before. So let's get them day one, right? And then they have this world of other teachers who say, we got your back. You know what I mean? Because being a first-year teacher is brutal.
Well, and talk about the bubble that we live in. I mean, we talked about that bubble that you only really share text with some people in your bubble, but there's such an impact of having colleagues to collaborate with that are outside of your school building. I mean, there's so much insight that you can get by a teacher that lives across the world, that's teaching students very similar to yours or not similar at all. There's incredible things that we can do with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So many great ideas. I love it. So I want to talk about something else that came up in the chat that I thought was really cool. And it actually has a connection to a book that I love called The Dot Story.
Love The Dot Story.
So, what was it? Somebody, I didn't screenshot it because I'm super on top of things today, but somebody was talking about a kid who said that they weren't a good reader and they didn't understand what they read. And the teacher who posted the tweet said, I said, well, read these 2 sentences, and the kid read them. And I said, and tell me what they mean. And he said, told her what they meant. And it was just 2 sentences, right? And then the kid wrote like a single, really simple sentence, misspelled, but it conveyed a concept. And immediately my mind went to The Dot Story, because The Dot Story, if you guys aren't familiar, it gives me chills. I have chills right now.
I love it.
Who's the author? I wrote it down somewhere, but
I'll find it.
Okay, good. Thanks. The story is of a little girl who says that she can't draw, that she's not good at drawing. She's not a good artist. And the teacher said something along the lines of, well, make a dot, or, whatever. And then the teacher framed it, put it on the wall, and had the kids sign their dot. And then it just launched this child into well, I can make a better dot than that. Like, you're celebrating that. Watch what I can do now. Oh, thank you, Kristen. And I'm totally butchering the story, but the idea is that you just start and you celebrate these steps. So celebrating the fact that the kid wrote a misspelled sentence that conveyed some level of meaning is powerful. And there was somebody else I was talking to. Oh, I can remember his little bubble. It was like a robot in the bubble, his Twitter bubble. And I don't know his name. Bubble. I'm tired. Deal with it. But he was talking about how he likes to have students summarize and convey understanding of what they're reading. And he challenges them to do it in a comic strip. And how some of the students say, I'm a terrible artist. And so then he proceeds to show his horrific stick figures and model that it doesn't have to be beautiful to convey meaning. And then he said something that I thought was really interesting. He mentioned that oftentimes the students who said that they were the worst at drawing and who just had stick figures really did the assignment well, because they weren't so caught up in the drawing, and it just allowed them to access the understanding in a different way. And I just thought that was so cool. And the dot story just popped into my head. Love it. Really good stuff.
It's so powerful. I actually showed the dot story right before assessment sometimes because I'm like, just start. If you are confused, start with the dot. Start by underlining a word, start by circling a word, start by coming up with a question that you have. And so actually we do an art unit that's like the start of the assessment, that they watch this video before they go do it. And I think that that's so powerful to communicate to our students that the act of starting is a success in and of itself, and how we continue to celebrate those pieces are so important. Also, for those of you listening, since we've gone off topic like crazy, it's a perfect book for like a baby shower because it's really good for little kids. Just so you know, I just got it for my best friend, Kristen Williams, is having her second daughter, and I got her the dot book. Great book. She actually read it out loud during the baby shower. If you want to see that, go to my Instagram stories.
Did everyone cry?
Everyone's like,
love it, love it, love it, love it. I'm trying to think about anything else that kind of stood out in the chat for me that was like, oh, I gotta talk. You have one? Talk.
I have one.
Okay.
There was a great tweet, I believe it was question 4 or 5, where it shared an immense amount of resources of how you can look at literacy and how you can integrate technology with it. If you are somebody who's, what?
I missed that.
Well, you're like the tech person.
I know.
You missed a big one. So there was a great question about how you can integrate technology with literacy. And some of them were ways for students to kind of like communicate literacy. Some of the resources were like where you can get literacy text. But for me, that would be such an incredible section to kind of go back to. If you're always looking up how to integrate technology with a literacy class, because there was a lot of ones that are things I hadn't heard of. You know, we got a lot of the typical ones, like Flipgrid is fantastic, Seesaw is fantastic, but Discovery Ed was in there, American Reads was in there. I mean, there were a lot of different avenues that were tech tools to support students with literacy. One of my favorites I saw was Snap and Read. I don't know how many people listening, I'm going to just tell you my sob story, but I'm going to go quick. But I am not a reader at all. I really try to be. It's a skill that I'm not gifted with. I try. I've gotten better, but it's not my thing. And I had an IEP growing up where I think that almost like gave me permission to not be good at reading, which is backwards. Regardless, I still to this day use Snap and Read. It's a Google Chrome add-on, and it reads everything on the screen to you. And so for my students that want to read and want to enjoy it rather than having this be this tedious task, my biggest thing I can echo to them is it's okay to have it be audio. It's okay to listen to the text, follow along. You're still learning throughout that process. And so I do it with emails. Like if it's early in the morning and I don't want to read a long email, done, read it to me. And so it can make anything read it out loud. That was a great tool I saw in there. That was kind of yes, other people use it too. That's
really cool. I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah.
Oh, I like it. Very good.
I love this comment here.
Oh, what? Huh? Oh, really well, yes. I love that one.
I love it.
I have students in my class who I work with a lot of students this year who struggle in math. And one thing that they do is they see a problem and they just stop. They're like, I can't even do that. And when I was teaching science or ELA, there'd be a question and they're like, I have no idea what that is. And the biggest challenge, and I think the greatest victory we can have is saying to the student, like, what do you get? Like, start somewhere. Like, do you understand this word? Do you understand this word? And like, let's build it from there.
Math, Snap and Read, boom.
Love that. Okay, so I've tried some like text-to-speech tools.
There's some other ones out there. I mean, it's very.
I didn't know that one, but I tried something on Khan Academy, and it read all sorts of weird, wonky things that weren't actually there.
That's the only thing. When you look at text, when you look at a tool that can read text on a computer screen, obviously what we see is not all the code in the background. So you need to make sure you get one that's really effective at knowing what's on your screen and not reading the URL to you.
Yeah.
7 reads ago. But again, there are a lot out there, but
Yeah.
it's just a tool to support students.
I'm gonna have to try. I don't remember what I was saying, but getting kids to start. Just getting kids to start somewhere is super powerful as teachers, and getting teachers to start is super powerful as leaders or as colleagues, as coworkers.
So I loved you were talking about trying to get students to start a problem. What do you understand? We just did a problem. Sorry, math people, if you're listening, the problem was essentially that there was 20 students at an art club. They were splitting 8 pizzas. How much of the pizza do they get? And I kept getting students that would come back and be like, oh, they get 2.4 pizzas. I'm like, wow, they only have 8 pizzas. There's 20 of them, but they each get 2.4 of the pizza. It's so interesting. And I'm like, if I told you that answer, like, could you look at that answer like, that doesn't really make sense. There's only 8. You'd be out of pizza before the kids. I'm like, yeah, look at that again. And I had a kid, it wasn't yesterday, it was Wednesday, look at me and he goes, oh my God, I just murdered 20 students and fed them to pizza. I was like, you did. You just cut up students and fed them to pizza. He's like, I need to switch my dividend and divisor. I'm like, yes, you do. And it was through that whole like moment, I was like, tell me what you know. He's like, I know there's 20 students. That makes sense. I know there's 8 pizzas. It was just such an interesting moment where he was like, made this massive connection, because when he was reading it, he wasn't making the connection between what the story was about, but talking it out loud, that processing, I didn't have to tell him much.
He literally said, I just murdered 20 people and fed them to pizzas.
He did.
I hang out with this kid. That's awesome. What a sense of humor. And what a moment. Like, I find too, and this is useful in math. It's useful in science. It's useful in any content area, really. Getting the student to speak their thought is so powerful. The number of times a kid comes up to me and says, I don't understand this. And I say, read what it is and then explain what you know. And literally they'll say the first 3 words and then they'll be like, oh, never mind. I totally get this. Just that getting kids to verbalize a thought is so powerful. In fact, I tell my kids to mutter under their breath.
Yeah.
I say, yeah, talk to yourself. That's okay. It's really going to help you.
I think that's why Flipgrid and Seesaw were so powerful and popular in Twitter, was because it was teachers sharing out, like, students need to not only read, but sometimes they need to hear it, read it out loud. There's a lot of power there.
And they need to speak it. Yeah. Like being able to, there's a reason why speaking and listening skills are a part of every English standard. I mean, speaking and listening is powerful, and being able to do that well is powerful.
Well, Tiffany, this chat was so fun. I loved the focus on reading and how it was so diverse in many content areas, how we can continue to support our kids in more of an interdisciplinary framework. But in terms of next week, you previewed it, but if people weren't listening at the very beginning, can you tell us a little bit about next week?
Yeah, sure. So next week is going to be really, really awesome, a little bit different. I'm excited. I always love when we kind of take Mastery Chat and say, and pivot. Here's what we're doing now. So we have Kristen Nan, and she works with, first of all, she's amazing, and you need to follow her because she's great. She works with teachers who are in like their first year of their education program in college. So like pre-service teachers, barely getting their feet wet. And her mission is to help them really kind of undo or like buffer them against some of those really traditional, old school, not as effective as they once were methods. And she wants to get them right from the start before they kind of hear all these bad habits from others. And I love that she's doing that. And she's doing some really neat things where they work digitally with a teacher. Just exciting stuff. We need to talk to Kristen more. But so what she proposed is for the chat next week, which she was set up to moderate, she wants to have some of those pre-service teachers build the questions. She's going to teach them how to schedule things schedule to post to Twitter. She's going to have them walk through like how you moderate and how you pose questions and how you respond. So the students that she works with, the little baby teachers who are just stepping into the field, are going to be leading the chat next week. And we've had Susan once did a chat for us, and it was the year before she went into the classroom. And it was like questions from an almost teacher, right? She was almost there. And I love that this is kind of in that same vein, but gets them even earlier. Yeah. Oh, just had an idea. You know what we should do?
What?
We need to get some high school kids to moderate
I had that thought.
Twitter chat.
Yeah, I had that thought while we were talking, and I was like, I can't forget to tell Tiffany about this great idea once we get off live on Facebook.
Yeah, like have them moderate. Like, hey, what do you want to talk to teachers about? Oh, we're doing it.
Done.
So anyway, it's going to be a great week next week. I am just floored every week by the awesome moderators that we have. I'm super impressed with all of the great conversation that they're starting. So I love being kind of behind the scenes in Mastery Chat, collaborating with those moderators all week long. And then on Thursday, bringing them out to the whole world and saying, look who it is and all the awesome stuff. So it's a lot of fun. I love it.
It's awesome. Well, for everybody that participated, thank you for sharing your ideas. We love being able, even when we're tired on Thursday nights, to be able to get all this energy from you and be just so excited for tomorrow. Kristen, we are so excited for you to host next week. Wendy, thank you for hosting this week. You are outstanding. What an outstanding topic. Go follow all those people on Twitter. And of course, you can follow Tiff and I on Twitter. We have our handles up on the video. And we will see you on Thursday next week for just an awesome chat. So thank you guys so much. And thank you to all of our Mastery Chat family. We love you guys.
Thanks, guys.